Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the day after show here on Crushing It with yours truly, Miles Smith. It's a new thing I'm going to try. We're going to mess around with it a little bit. This is really just going to be more of a takeaway show that I wanted to do. Maybe a little bit of practice, keeping my eyes on the camera. Of course, that's not always possible because I've got some of my takeaways and stuff. But while we're at it, don't forget, we got it on the side here. Don't forget to like, don't forget to share, don't forget to subscribe. I actually think we're at 232. We're trying to hit 250 by the Super Bowl. Let's get right into it. The Denver Broncos won an epic game over the Green Bay Packers, 34-26. Bo Nix looked like an elite level quarterback, and that's going to segue perfectly into this first takeaway. The Broncos, top to bottom right now, are an elite team, and I think they are one of, if not the best teams in the National Football League. They beat a great Packers team who, through the majority of it, had their top weapon, maybe outside of Tyler Kraft, and their top defensive player. Of course, unfortunately, both those guys end up getting hurt, as well as one of the Packers linemen. So prayers up to everyone that did get hurt. Parsons, Watson, those guys. You hate injuries in the game of football. Point is, though, is that the Broncos beat just what has been a great Packers team this season, and they've been on a heater lately. The offense, they absolutely showed what they can do. Bo Nix put together the best game of his professional career, and he's had games like this in the past, but you wanted to see him do it against what was, like a good to great defense, and he absolutely showed out. He had somewhere in the 60% completion range, goes for 302, 4 touchdowns, each one to a different receiver. I absolutely think this offense, they can put up points on anybody. Another part too is, despite the slow start, and we're going to talk about the defense here in a minute, they clamped down in the second half. And, Jordan Love and the Packers, they only put up 10 points in the second half after going up and down the field all first half. Again, we'll talk about that here in a second. But the first takeaway, well, there's a notification on my phone. But the first major takeaway, the Broncos are absolutely an elite team, and it's about time the NFL realized that. Takeaway number 2. The 1 seed is the Broncos to lose, and here's why. New England lost, they blew a lead. Denver now essentially has a 2-game lead over the Pats with 3 games to go. The Broncos have the tiebreaker over the Pats, and now they sit a game above New England in that battle for the 1 seed. Denver has put themselves in the best position since 2015, or really, if you want to get real technical with it, since, I don't know, maybe week 10 of the 2016 season. This is their best position since really that time of the year. And once again, we're going to touch on this last takeaway. The Broncos can play with anybody, and I really felt that if there was a game that this team might drop during this back stretch of the season, it was going to be this Packers game, but they came out and they proved me wrong. This Broncos offense, when it's clicking, absolutely incredible. Franklin looked great. Sutton looked like the number 1 receiver on this team. He was catching dime after dime. Michael Bandy got a touchdown. Lil Jordan Humphrey looked pretty good as well, and this was all without Pat Bryant. So imagine now what happens when we get Pat Bryant back in the lineup. I know a lot of people didn't love exactly what RJ Harvey did, and we're going to talk about that here in just a minute, because I do have some things to say about the run game. I thought he did fine outside of the fumble. I hope the fumble is a learning experience for RJ Harvey, because you definitely don't want to, see your top running back fumbling. Of course, we could get J.K. Dobbins back, but who knows at this point? Just the way that things are going for the Broncos right now, you really can't afford to. We really got to hope that RJ Harvey's okay, because outside of him, it's Sincere McCormick on the practice squad, and then it's Tyler Bidet and Jaleel McLaughlin, and neither of those guys have showed me that they can shoulder the workload for a game or two. So if Harvey's rib issue is worse than we think, it's going to be a little bit rough for the Broncos in the run game. But we've seen them do it without the run game before, and there's no reason to think they can't do it. And they're going to have a stiff test coming up next week against the Jags. That Jags run defense is a monster. But as I said, when this team clicks, they are unstoppable, and these are my reasons why the number 1 seed in the AFC is now the Denver Broncos to lose. My third takeaway, and we touched on him a little bit in that previous segment, but I really think that RJ Harvey is starting to develop pretty nicely. Wasn't the prettiest game from him. He scores his 10th touchdown of the season, which I believe still leads all NFL among the rookies, which is really good to see. I mean, the guy has been so good at kind of in the deep red zone or in the low red zone. He's been an absolute weapon for the Broncos. We saw what he can do on the ground last week against the Raiders, which was incredibly encouraging. So seeing him continue to maybe not have the same sustained success that he had, against Las Vegas, but to still fight for those gritty yards and a rebound after that fumble, that was incredibly encouraging to see. Again, wasn't the best game from him. He only went for about 3.5 a pop, but for the most part, I still liked what I saw from Harvey. There were a couple of snaps where I think he looked a little indecisive and it got him killed in the backfield. He still does need to work on that decisiveness between the tackles for sure, but I mean, on the plays that he was hitting, man, he was just dropping a shoulder and he was fighting for every single yard, and that's what you want to see out of the running back. So again, wasn't pretty, but he did line out those gritty yards. As we alluded to, I mean, if Harvey's going to be out for an extended period of time, this run game is going to be nothing unless you see the return of like 2022 Jaleel McLaughlin, 2023 Jaleel McLaughlin. It's going to be tough sledding, and at that point we might see a call up of Sincere McCormick just so you've got a little bit of a bowling ball to throw back there, and even then, Sincere's a little bit on the shorter end of running backs. It's gonna be interesting. Something that I do still want to see from Harvey that we saw in the early part of the season is I would like to see more explosiveness out of him. But again, he's getting better between the tackles. He's still developing. And I think as we're going into this final stretch, as we're trying to, make that push for the 1 seed, you just want to continue to see good football and really just improving football in the running game from RJ Harvey. I still like what he does as a receiver. I think he's getting better between the tackles. You just want to keep seeing improvement out of him. Same thing we were saying about Bo earlier this season. You just want to see some steady improvement. Again, not the prettiest performance, but not exactly one I'm mad at, and I hope his ribs are good. Otherwise, it's going to be a little rough to watch in the run game. Not going to lie. All right, perhaps I've been baited into this one, but damn it, I'm just calling it how I see it. This maybe was the Troy Franklin breakout. Again, no Pat Bryant, so Troy Franklin does get more snap shares. Obviously, you're not going to throw Lil Jordan Humphrey out there as your pure number 2. No drops, which was something that I think a lot of people were watching for on every Troy Franklin target, because that has been a problem that he has had his first 2 seasons in the NFL. He had a sick touchdown grab, and now he's up there with Sutton for the team lead in touchdown catches. Troy Franklin, he's had his moments this year, and we'll keep going here. It's his best game of the year, up to down. No drops. Maybe the yardage doesn't particularly match somewhere in the box scores of another game, but I think top to bottom this season, this is the best Troy Franklin game that we have seen. So fingers crossed, and we were kind of alluding to this before I got to this other point on this takeaway. Fingers crossed, Troy Franklin can continue to build off of this performance and we start to see some consistency. Again, I don't need to see another, 80, 90 yard 6-catch game, but if I can get like 4 catches for 50 yards, 5 for 60, maybe another touchdown, I just want to see more consistent production. I want to see the hands continue to be consistent for Troy Franklin. It's been something that we've been waiting for, and, receivers, there's a different development curve for those guys than other positions, obviously. Every position has a development curve one way or another. If Troy Franklin's finally starting to hit that upward slope of his development curve, I think we're looking at a pretty damn good receiver number 2. Now, of course, that's kind of been Pat Bryant's role this last little bit, so we'll kind of see how things shake out there. But I was super encouraged from Troy Franklin in this game, and I hope he continues to play just as well going forward. Okay, final takeaway, and it was one that I was trying to hold back on the concern level, but the Broncos defense has me concerned just a little bit. It's another slow start. They let Jordan Love and that Packers offense march up and down the field, even in the second half. Now, things did start to turn around. They put the clamps on him. Final 3 drives, Green Bay goes for negative 3 yards. They've got 2 turnovers on downs, and they threw the pick to Riley Moss on the drop pass. However, these slow starts are starting to worry me a smidge. They're allowing a lot more big plays. Maybe not a lot, but they are allowing more big plays. They made it look too easy for Green Bay to go down the field. Toyotathon Jordan Love was carving this Broncos defense like a pumpkin during Halloween, especially in that first half. They let up the big run to Josh Jacobs. It's a little worrying. I'm not full-blown panic mode about the defense yet, but I am certainly extremely worried. And that's compounded now by Brandon Jones going on injured reserve with a back injury. That's going to end his season. So it makes you wonder. There's a certain free agent safety that used to wear number 31 for the Broncos. I don't know if KAD would be willing to give that number back. But all I'm saying, there's a mile-high legend that's looking for a job that's still in shape that could use a call. Yes, I'm talking about Justin Simmons. I feel like with Jones going down, it's kind of the natural progression. You just go back to the guy before him. I love PJ Locke as much as the next guy. I'll keep it a buck. I love PJ Locke, but he's definitely not a guy that you want to consistently have on the back end. He was kind of part of that, he was part of that 2023 defense, one of the starters that gave up just a shitload of yards and a shitload of points, especially early in that season. I'm scared for the defense, especially if the Broncos don't find more depth at the very least to mix in there behind PJ Locke. I don't know if Skinner maybe gets some more snaps on defense. We haven't really seen a whole lot of him on defense. He's been a special teams gunner. But Brandon Jones, I mean, that injury just compounds my concern level a little bit on top of what we're already seeing with what's been a little bit of a slump for the defense so far in this back half of the year. I'm a little worried. I am a smidge worried. Now, I would like to see them course correct, do what you did in the second half, and just do it the whole game. Completely. We haven't seen 4 full quarters from offense and defense, it feels like, in maybe most of the games this season. I can name 2 where maybe you saw complimentary football all throughout a game, and that's the Bengals game, that's the Cowboys game. Maybe the second half of the Green Bay game. It's just, I'm concerned. You don't want to see them go into this slump that they went into last year in the back half, in that back stretch. You really, really want to see this defense rebound, and I don't know if that does mean bringing in a Justin Simmons to replace, the injured Brandon Jones. Whatever the case, I'm concerned, but I'm encouraged, especially by that second half, with the way that they did clamp down, that they forced turnovers, which we've been waiting for this Broncos team to do all season long. But all in all, at the end of the day, this Broncos team, they are still very serious contenders. We are now 12-2, as I alluded to. The number 1 seed is ours to lose. Man, I'm really excited for these final 3 games. And if you are as well, I go live to do play-by-play for all of the Broncos games. That is kind of my forte. It's what's gotten me to the 232 sub mark. I've got it wrong on the graphic. That's entirely my bad. So if you want to help me out going forward, don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to share it with your friends. And don't forget to subscribe. So with that all being said, thank you for checking out this first edition of the Day After Show with Miles Smith. Appreciate you checking in, and if you watched to this point, comment your takeaway from this Denver Broncos win, and I will see you all in the next one. Adios.